So, yeah, we understand you got some new numbers.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day here at Dune Park in Tacoma. And one of the reasons it's a beautiful day is that we have seen state employees, educators, people who work in medical care rally to this cause to fight COVID. Today, I can pleased to say that we started at 48%. We now have 92.4% that are in compliance with this mandate today. And that is going to grow over the upcoming days, because we have some people that have got the first shot, they're working on getting their second shot. That number is going to grow. I am thrilled by this progress. Thousands of Washingtonians in state employment, hospitals, teachers have rallied to this cause, and they're pulling on the rope, and they have answered this call to get vaccinated. And they have done so because they're public servants. And they've helped everybody in this state by getting vaccinated. And those numbers are going to continue to grow. We think this success can be a template and an inspiration to other employers and other communities to understand that when you make this call, Washingtonians answer. And let me reiterate why this is important. We still are losing 35, 40 people every single day. It's like a big jetliner crashing once a week in the state of Washington. If this is a terrorist attack, we would not stand idly by. We would act. Today, I'm proud to say that Washingtonians are acting by getting vaccinated. This 92.4 proves it, and it shows that people understand the urgency of this pandemic and the significance and the efficacy and the safety of this vaccine. So I could not be more pleased by the progress that we have made. Now, some people have abandoned public service and walked away. That's about 3% of public employees. We wish all those folks would stay. We hope they come back. They still might have an opportunity to get vaccinated. We thank them for their service. But the news of the day is Washingtonians are rallying to this cause, and I'm very excited about the progress we've made.
So, Governor, you just said a minute ago that some only have the first shot. The original rules were you had to have the second shot
Right.
plus the 2 weeks
Right.
in the case of Moderna and Pfizer.
Right.
It sounds like you're willing to give a little here. Are these people getting a second chance?
Well, in a sense, they will be on unpaid leave as of today. So they're not working today. If they've had a first shot but not a second shot, but assuming though the position is not open, we want them to come back, and we presume that they will. Most, if not all, of the folks who've certainly had the one shot are going to get the second, and we hope that they're going to come back at that point. They're not on the job today, but assuming their job is not filled, we would welcome them back.
So something like 67 state troopers plus others within the Washington State Patrol have said no. Apparently they were going to do some sort of demonstration today involving hats. Can those people come back? I mean, why, if they've been willing to walk away now, why do you think they may not be willing to just stay out?
Well, they may be. I don't know what their intentions are. But what I'm saying is that over time, I think some people will make a decision to get the vaccine. What that number will be, I cannot predict it. With those folks, maybe it's 0, maybe it's 10%. I don't know. The point is that we can welcome people back if they get that second shot. And I do believe if you've got the first shot, you're highly likely to get the second shot. So those folks who've had a first shot, we don't have this number for you today. Those folks we presume are going to get the second shot. We presume they're going to come back into service. They're just not on service today. That's one of the reasons these numbers are going to grow over time.
Governor, are you willing to reconsider what your fellow governors in California, New York, New Jersey, and the vax mandate that allow for testing? I know you've said you don't want to do that, but are you willing to reconsider that? That's what they're asking for.
No, look, there's a variety of approaches. Oregon, California actually does have a vaccine requirement. There are various things in New York City. So we're not the only one that has this proposal. But the answer is we're going to go with science. The science is very clear on this. Vaccines work, testing does not adequately. And the reason we know this is through harsh experience. We had a test protocol in the state of Washington. We tried it. We insisted that all of our Department of Corrections officers were regularly tested. And you know what happened? They died. They died, 5. And one of the last funerals I went to was a man who left a 9-year-old granddaughter. He tested positive or negative 30 times in a row. Then he died. So we're going to do what actually saves people's lives, and that's the vaccine. Look, we know this. Testing will not stop this pandemic ultimately. Vaccines will. We're going to use the weapon and the tool that we know that works, and that's the vaccine. Now, the good news is thousands of Washingtonians have demonstrated their agreement with that proposition. That's why we're at 92.4% compliance today. And again, that's going to grow over time. So we're thrilled by this, and I want to thank all Washingtonians that are rallying to this cause.
Just to be clear, Governor, you say there is a possible way back, that if people decide that they will get vaccinated, that these troopers or state employees at some future date, if they say unemployment's not the right thing for me, that you'll allow them to come back?
Well, of course, we're going to welcome qualified people who become vaccinated to apply for a job. Of course we will. But what I'm saying is those who have had one vaccine already, they got a leg up. They're ready to go with the second vaccine. We presume they will get the second vaccine. They're not on the job today, but if we have not filled the job, then we can bring them back. The same is true with other employees, but you need to get vaccinated.
So when you say other employees, you're clearly talking about, I take it you're talking about those who have not got any shots.
That's correct. Let's say nobody has been, let's say you got a state employee today hasn't had any vaccines. He heard on the internet that you become sterile. Like I heard somebody say the other day, well, you become sterile if you take this vaccine. What a bunch of baloney. Let's say he heard that. So this fella decides not to get the vaccine. And 2 months from now, he realizes all his friends have got the vaccine, everybody's healthy, the pandemic's still raging, and his loved one said, John, why don't you get the vaccine? He can apply for work with the state of Washington. Now his job may be gone by that time because we may hire a replacement. If that's the case, we're not holding these jobs forever. But people can apply, but they're going to need to get vaccinated. And I think that will happen over time as this internet mania, we get over this and people start listening to their physicians.
When you made the first announcement, I covered that. When you made that now almost 3 months ago. The state at that point did not have a good tally about how many state employees under your purview had been vaccinated. It was just like you were kind of going off the county numbers
Right.
For that point. It sounds like you got a handle on that number now, but certainly at that point you could not have known that you were going to get into the 90% range. What was the backup plan? Say you only got to 75%.
Well, it's rather irrelevant at the moment. The fact is we got at 90.2.4.
Was
It
there
worked.
a plan B?
The plan B was to talk to people, and it was going to work, and it did work. Let's celebrate for success. You know,
Governor,
when the Kraken beat the Canucks in a couple weeks, we're not going to say what happens if it didn't work out. No, this worked out big time. This was a super success for the state of Washington. We could not be more thrilled. Yes, there was some uncertainty at that point. Now, you have to understand, we're not the only organization that has had success here. United Airlines, other communities, other hospitals. The fact of the matter is vaccine mandates work to save lives because people get vaccinated. And that's what's happening in Washington State. I'm glad we did this.
Governor, the worker outages are spread unevenly across the state. Is there any plan for relief, to send relief to places that might be short a lot more than another place might be?
Well, certainly. We do have some disparate impact. We are going to have a very vigorous recruiting effort on our ferry system. As you know, our ferry system has had a long-time staffing problem. It predated COVID, but we now have hired a contractor to help in our recruitment effort. We have a new crop of trainees coming in right now. Yes, we're going to have very intentional recruiting efforts to recruit people where we are short. But I'm pleased that the vast majority of Washington employees are vaccinated. And you know, it's kind of interesting how you look at this. If Carl Seeger batted 900, you wouldn't be writing stories about that he missed 10 times. This is an amazing story. Over 90% of people are vaccinated. And yeah, there's a few holdouts that unfortunately listen to these hallucinations on the internet. But the fact that we have over 90% of people, we don't get 90% of people to vote for the Seahawks. So I'm very pleased about this. But yes, we do have some places where we need to recruit new people.
And Governor, a quick question on a different
By the way, I was
subject.
very happy too. We added 136 sailings since last Saturday. Well, as you know, the ferry system changed its schedule to make sure we had a more reliable sailings. But since then, they added 136 sailings since then because we were able to get more people on the boats. That's good news.
Quick question on another subject. In light of today's charges announced by the State Attorney General's office, Sheriff Troyer said today he's being targeted by you. Your response to that?
I don't know what he's referring to.
You were the one who initiated the Attorney General's investigation of Ed Troyer and his actions with a newspaper carrier overnight a few months ago. He is saying that these charges against him now are because you have targeted him.
I don't know why I would. I think I've already met him once or twice. I have nothing against him. We had to have an investigation of a serious incident. The Attorney General made an independent decision on this. I just read about the indictment. I only heard about it through your news reporting. So I don't know what the rationale for the Attorney General was. You'll have to ask him. I have not asked him to take any particular position, but we did want to give him the investigatory facts that was necessary. It's the right thing to do. I stand by that decision.
One clarification on the number, the 92.4. This would include, does this also include people that have been given a waiver?
Yes, it includes, it may be 2%, it may be 2.5% of people who've been given accommodations. And I can't give you the exact number right now because they're literally tallying this, as we speak.
And these are people who have been granted an exemption for medical and religious reasons that you can keep in your job because you've been able to accommodate it.
Correct.
What about our football coach from WSU? He's out of a job as a result of this as well.
Well, here's what I'll say about this. I am delighted at the story of Washington State University. And here's the real story of Washington State University. They've got 97% of their students vaccinated. That's incredible. They have over 90% of their remaining professional staff vaccinated, and that is growing. So they got a good story at a Washington State University, a research institution that has just started its new medical school. They're answering the call. They're getting vaccinated. And I think that's the real story out of Washington State University. And they got some good athletes too, and I'm looking forward to a good Apple Cup.
Governor, how long are we going to go with this unpaid leave, and we'll give you a little time to catch up and maybe you can come and get your job back versus it's okay, it's time to fill the job now these people are gone?
Well, it varies a little bit, but it's about a month. Okay, so people, they're not working today, so they're not earning a paycheck today, and they've got about a month to turn this thing around. So we hope that they will. We hope people will come back. We hope they'll stick.
Are they going to have to reapply as if they're new hires, or are they?
I'm unclear of that exact procedure, so I'm going to have somebody get back to you on that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you very much. Be well. Enjoy the beautiful day. Go Kraken.
Thank you, Governor.
Thanks, Governor.
Thank you.
The air so thick you could chew it, is what he said. And seeing his hometown polluted inspired the environmental message of doom. So we took the thing that inspired that message, and we built a park on it, and then we named it after a landmark of environmentalists in science fiction.
So this is science fiction in dirt.
Science fiction in dirt and art. We have some sandworms up there on the top.
Well, I was thinking it might be a Kraken, but a sandworm will work today.
It could be an honorary Kraken.
An honery Kraken, yeah.
Yeah, and Debbie here, who's our director of planning, can tell you more about maybe how we built it, but that's the story
Before I
of it.
do, let me ask you about the little breakwater here. That's really cool.
This is
I love it for the sound, but I love the fact that you put it in
it's a natural place for wildlife to want to see seals.
Well, we got a great blue heron coming by. So that's good. You
Yeah,
guys
this is
plan
the
this for us?
habitat.
It was on call.
Ecology. This is what Department of Ecology does.
Yeah.
You plan the great blue heron. What do you do?
Yeah, so seals will use this a lot during different times of the day. Birds, other wildlife, it's a really
You got a
important
camera
spot.
out there, it looks like.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, good planning.
worked out well.
Okay, well, where's the osprey?
We do
Come
have
on.
snags up there for them. It's just it's late. It's missed its cue.
Yeah. So how did you pull this off?
Well, it took a lot of hands, right? And this is a story that began many, many years ago, right? I mean, even so, when Asarco went bankrupt, obviously Asarco is the smelter here, big economic development driver for Tacoma. When they went bankrupt, there was a association that was basically selected to have the responsibility of remediating that site. Metro Parks also received some of the settlement funds from ASARCO. So we've been in a planning mode with our partners at Point Ruston for many years to get some of the basic infrastructure here for the remediation. That said, there's a lot more remediation that needed to be done, and if you're taller than me, but if you can see through this, so essentially, if you look back at that hillside, you see kind of the greenhouses.
Yeah.
So that area, we call that affectionately the triangle, because from the sky it looks like a triangle.
Right.
That was completely contaminated, as well as most of the soils. What we're standing on right now is actually a slag pile.
Yeah.
So the liquid slag would get dumped here, and slag's a really interesting building material, and so they just kept expanding it bigger and bigger. So when it became clear that the pollution was so significant, the toxins were so significant, that's when I think all the agencies kind of came together to figure out, well, how can we partner to make this happen? So the first piece was just the technical part of that. And again, EPA and Department of Ecology worked very much in tandem to basically oversee what was needed for the remediation, which, just in the short way, basically, if you imagine that hill, we basically excavated down, because that was contaminated. We put the really bad stuff over here in the Slag Peninsula, and then we capped it with clean material. That area then also is capped. So we had a lot of plans, because we're park people, right? We had a lot of really wonderful opportunities for the park possibilities. So once the remediation was occurred, we had also at the same time designed the park feature. So I was talking to Rebecca from Department of Ecology. It's not often you get to make a whole new 11-acre waterfront
11
park.
acres from scratch.
And it's had, it has its own uniqueness to it. But so we wanted to make this, but we also did a couple of other things. If you've been along Roston Way, you know that there's a major pedestrian bicycle thoroughfare along waterfront, and very popular trail. If you've been to Point Defiance, which is over there, obviously 700 plus acre park with old growth, lots of trails. One of the things that you can't quite see because our building's in the way is what we call the Jack Wilson Bridge, which was part of this project that essentially created that linkage between the Ruston Way connections up to Point Defiance. It's an accessible linkage, so it's really quite the missing link. On top of that, we also built additional multi-purpose parking, because this is a complex site. We have the ferry terminal here, we have a major boat launch, and so there's a robust area there as well. And then of course, this area, just to note, there's a yacht club over there that if you were to wander around, you used to have to go up about many steps to get to the entrance. If you see it now, it's on grade. So just to give you a sense of the amount of soil and dirt that was put in here to remediate. So overall, we have a major regional trail system that the resources allowed us to complete. We have a new 11-acre park, and we have better facilities for the actual pieces. And so as far as the partnerships go, EPA, the state had so many contributions, not only from Department of Ecology, but from RCO, as well as the State Department of Transportation, because that roundabout that you drove through was something that also really facilitates access here. So we're just very pleased. And as well as the City of Tacoma was an amazing partner. Environmental Services did a regional detention facility that's also located. So very complex site, lots that happened over a period of many years.
Well, listen, you've got 45 Park, Green Park, the Chinese Memorial, 2.5, 3 miles away. Why would anyone go to visit? And the partnership you described, to me, reading about this is so amazing. Are there any plans for future additions? Are we kind of complete, or are there things you're thinking about?
Well, again, Dune is one part of the Point Defiance complex. Right. If you've been to Anthony's, or if you've been around to the boathouse, a lot of those facilities are kind of aging, right? And so we're looking to do a planning process to upgrade those facilities. And again, you can actually walk from here over to there. Right. So we definitely have some aging infrastructure in terms of the waterfront that we're going to do. And then
that's big.
we have a number of different pieces within Point Defiance that we're looking at. Point Defiance Park is almost it's a world unto itself, and there's it's the proximity to here and the connections of the trails just allows for that much more opportunity.
Yeah. Great. Great. So how did the ecology fit into this?
Well, we contributed $5 million from the cleanup settlement account. When ASARCO filed for bankruptcy, we took them to court and we got $94 million to spend on the Tacoma smelter plume work. You might have heard of it.
Right.
Beyond this 1 square mile area, the air emissions cover 1,000 square miles.
Right.
And we're working on cleaning up other parks, some parks, metro parks, schools, child cares, and residential homes. And maybe someday in the future, if we have some work going on, you might be interested in stopping by and seeing some of that work.
I'd like to know, give me an example of what that is. What's ongoing right now?
Well, so cleaning up folks' yards, we go in, we do some testing, and lead and arsenic are the contaminants of concern. And then we work with the homeowner to remove that soil and then replace it with clean soil and, sod or bark or we work with them to help it be something that they want. And so it is residence by residence. So it's somewhat painstaking.
Yeah.
So, in addition, over 120 playgrounds, small parks,
So do
schoolyards.
you identify the 120 playgrounds that could use some remediation?
That's
already?
work that's already
Yes.
been completed.
You've already
Yes.
done that.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then in addition, I think ecology also helped support that stormwater facility, which was really innovative, used low impact development, green infrastructure to collect and treat the
Where is
stormwater.
the financing for the remediation for private parks?
That's from the cleanup settlement account.
Yep.
So it's still coming out through the account.
Yes, and looking ahead, we're not going to have enough to do all the yards. And so another 5 years or so, we may be looking to transition maybe some MOTCA funding. I don't know. We haven't figured that out. But education and outreach is going to be a perpetual component. Teaching people to take their shoes off, wash their hands.
Right.
If you're going to have a garden, do a raised bed.
Yeah.
So that sort of thing.
Yeah. So right now it's just limited by logistical capacity, or we're just spitting out a certain amount of money every year? What's the
Well, we had a hiring and contracts freeze last year.
Right.
That kind of, so there's some bumps along the way that have limited our ability to get out. Our goal is to do 100 yards a year, and for a variety of reasons, it's been difficult to do that.
Well, we'll get people vaccinated and get through COVID, then we'll get you back on the.
Yeah,
It-
no, we're right
It's
there with you.
accelerating. It's
Yeah.
accelerating.
That's
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Well,